Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 3 of the Rink Moose Hockey Podcast, a bi-weekly episodic podcast where two, sometimes three good friends gather around this table and assess all things NHL and their implications in the fantasy hockey universe. I am one of your hosts, as always, Nick Costu, along with my co-host today, as usual, Kyle Nice. Kyle, how are you doing on this rainy pre-Halloween Friday night? Yes.
I'm well. I am very well. And I will just say, we don't have a rotating third member. No. And you know what? I think it's good for today.
Yeah, good for today.
We've got a lot of topics to touch on. Some, they're all hot topics in terms of what's on the news. And it's going to come out at a time where it's going to be still kind of hot product.
Yeah.
So I think it's good we get this done in a succinct manner and we tackle it. But it's going to be tons of fun. We went to Ottawa. We had a great time as well. There's going to be some great stories.
Yeah, I think
hell of a story incoming. By the
way.
Hell
of a story, especially if you're a Rangers fan. So please tune in, you Rangers fans. Stay till the end, please. But we won't start there. There's been some breaking news, obviously this week. Breaking news today. We'll get into it's all kind of interlinked with all of this stuff emanating out of Chicago, Illinois. Again, one of these topics, one of these tragic stories. Everyone's heard of it at this point, unless you've been living under a rock. As usual with these political stories, we don't get too deep into them. We don't like to say what's already been said. We don't like it's just what could we possibly contribute that hasn't been contributed to this point. But Kyle's in the envious position of being a lot more well-read about this than me. Indeed. So we will at least just cover it for the sake of, informing the audience in case you're not aware of every detail, like me, someone who's been busy this week and frankly hasn't been reading too much about it. So we got some quotes from managerial people. Recently came out, Joel Quenneville lost his job. Yep. Recently came out, Kevin Sheffield-Dayoff not losing his job.
Right.
So we can talk about that stuff, and there's statements coming from players like Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Jeremy Colleton. So there's a lot to get into here. We could spend, hours upon hours talking about it, but we'll keep it short, like you said. We'll keep it succinct, and just go over kind of the pertinent details for the fans out there.
Yeah, I think by this time you've heard what the story's all about. If you want to know a little bit more, obviously Dangle's got that one show that you heard earlier, and then they have an interview with Rick Westhead as well coming out. So yeah, those kind of nitty-gritty details are out there, and obviously we don't have to say this, but we are all disgusted on what happened. What I'd like to get out of this is we kind of get our take on, kind of give our opinion on who these characters are and how they've acted and how they continue to act and what they're saying in the media today. Because that's kind of where, to me, that's where the real story is being brought along here. It's okay, now it's all happened. How are you dealing with it? What have you said about it? And how do where it goes from there. So
do we then want to start with the characters? Like, if you're going to talk about a statement, you have to introduce the character who made that statement, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to start there?
Well, what I want to do, I'll just give a quick, really Cole's Notes summary, because this will kind of set up the characters that were in play. So obviously the situation happened in 2010 Stanley Cup playoffs. I think it was the second or the third round. We all know what the situation was, graphic detail, all that kind of stuff. Kyle Beach then brought it up to a skills trainer who brought it up.
And he's the victim. Kyle Beach is the victim.
He's the victim.
So we need to make that clear.
Yep. So he's come out. And
John Doe 1.
Correct. So he brought it up to a skills coach. The skills coach, who has been amazing through all this, he's been a great cooperator and all that. He brought it up the chain of command as he was supposed to. It went so far up the chain that it got to management, and everybody in management knew, essentially.
And it was a meeting. It was like a boardroom.
There was a closed door meeting where all the talking heads, all the figureheads, a young Stan Bowman, new in his role, according to him, right, coming from the fucking hockey family that he comes from, he's new to the role. They had a secret closed-door meeting.
Who else? So this
Joel Quenneville.
Joel Quenneville, the coach at the time.
Cheveldayoff was there.
Cheveldayoff. Was he assistant GM at that point?
Assistant GM.
Then you have McDonough.
McDonough was
Who's
there.
the president?
President of hockey ops.
And who else? Is that
those
it?
Those are the
key
main
figures
ones.
here. Okay.
Bergevin was not in this call.
Bergevin not.
But he's not completely guilt-free. Of course, we don't know that yet. But so they have this secret meeting. And essentially what is said in the secret meeting is Joel Quenneville, and this came out in the report, Joel Quenneville was the one to say, listen, guys, the team doesn't need this distraction right now. We're trying to win a Stanley Cup. So then what happened was the action was non-action, and they let this guy continue to do his job. They let this guy win the Stanley Cup, get a Stanley Cup ring, get his name on the cup, get a whole day with the cup. Like, he got a day with the cup after them knowing this.
Right.
And then it gets worse because you didn't do the action when you should have. Then you waited. And then literally you gave the guy a reference to go and work elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And then he continued to make offense after offense, and he ended up in jail.
Yeah, he ends up in jail.
There's you know this better than I do. There should be a criminal aspect to this as well, because he ended up in jail because someone gave him a reference. Someone had negligence on their part of not following their code of conduct. And what happened? They were fined $2 million as of a few days ago. Mm-hmm. And some people have lost their jobs after 11 years of banking millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. Like, that's where it really sucks. So it's these characters, it's the inaction that we have to focus on. And, you know, there's the managerial part, but there's also the part of the players, because guys like Brent Sopel and one other teammate, they claim that everyone on the team knew. That is a key point. I think Kyle Beach is pretty convinced that everyone on the team knew, because there was taunts being thrown around. There was people making fun of him for the incident. And that's where I switch my focus to the leadership, the captaincy, the Duncan Keiths of the world, the Patrick Kanes, who continue. I mean, we'll talk about Taves a lot here, but he's the only one of the fucking three of them who's actually admitted he actually knew anything at all. Patrick Kane and Duncan Keith don't even know who this guy is, apparently. Like, what is this?
Kyle Beach?
Yeah. Wow. They're like, Duncan Keith, he said, no, Patrick Kane said, I didn't even know, like, John Doe was Kyle Beach until he came out. Like, what the fuck, man? He's full of shit. Like, but we don't even...
So he knew there was a John Doe. He knew about the incident, but he didn't know who.
He had read all about this big... Like, you play on the fucking team. You're the face of the team. Chicago has been in trouble for these allegations in 2010, and you have no idea who he is, according to him, which is fucking ridiculous. So that's what's happened. There's been several statements that have come out, and I don't know, where do you want to start with this? I've got the Stan Bowman one, which is rather lengthy. But
is there a highlight?
Not really, but essentially, like, what I don't understand is why everyone who's been fired, or not fired, but they've been allowed to step down from the role. Yeah. Like, I don't even know what that really means.
It's just, I guess it's just a way of saving face, if there's still some face to be saved.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So Stan here is like totally deflecting blame. So he says in his statement, and I quote, I was made aware of potential inappropriate behavior by then video coach involving a player. I promptly reported the matter to the then president and CEO, who committed to handling the matter. I learned this year that the inappropriate behavior involved a serious allegation of sexual assault. So he's first of all, he's ducking blame onto the president, and second of all, he's claiming he didn't know what it was about.
I did read that. Yeah.
He's claiming he doesn't know what it is. So this closed door meeting, they're just, what were they saying? Like, oh, something bad happened, and we're not going to talk about it, but we're not going to do anything about it. And then he said, and it continues to deflect blame. I relied on the direction of my superior that he would take appropriate action. Looking back, now knowing he did not handle the matter promptly, I regret assuming he would do so. So that entire paragraph is deflecting blame. Absolutely insane.
Passing the buck.
Exactly. And then he's just, he goes on to talk about his championships and his time in Chicago, and on behalf of my family, thank you. So it's just a shitty thing to say, because I'm reading this right now and I don't see the name of Kyle Beach at all in this statement. Not at all. Just extremely grateful for the It's all about me. It's all about me and deflecting blame. So that's Stan Bowman for you, folks. And so Scotty Bowman, your boy's boy, really raised a great kid, eh?
No,
great hockey family, huh?
Yeah.
Great hockey family.
That's not it's definitely going to hurt the name to an extent. And he probably won't. Yeah, he won't. Have we lost the video? I'll keep talking. Yeah, I mean, sorry, folks. We're still trying our video thing here, and it's going to take some troubleshooting on our part. But yeah, I'll continue by. I mean, what you said. I mean, it's a lot of deflecting. It's a lot of not really, mentioning the victim, not apologizing to the victim directly. It's a lot of just, I'm deflecting. I'm going to move on from this, and I hope to God he doesn't get another job in the league. I can't see how he would after this statement. People got to be saying the same thing we're saying, So.
Yeah. And I guess really quickly, Joel Quenneville.
Yeah, I never read his statement.
It's short. It's super short and brief. I'll just quote the whole thing. With deep regret and contrition, I announce my resignation. Again, why? How can he announce his resignation?
Well, here's the thing. If you fire people, then you get into legalese. Firing with cause, firing without cause, and then things get legal, and then you need to give severance packages and all that shit. If someone steps down, it just omits all of that. So at the very least, I know that kind of that legal aspect. So I think that's why they're doing this.
I want to express my sorrow and pain for the young man Kyle Beach has suffered. My former team, the Blackhawks, failed Kyle, and I own my share of that. I want to reflect on how all this happened and take the time to educate myself on ensuring hockey spaces are safe for everyone.
That's it.
Much better than the Bowman
short and sweet.
At least.
Yeah, short and sweet, more apologetic.
At least he owns his side of the story. But I mean, I to be honest, from what the story says, he's kind of the ringleader behind this whole project.
Oh yeah, I read the quote about him in the. Apparently, he was panicking in the meeting. He was saying this can't go on. We got a cup run here. We got a special group. He was to your point. He was a big advocate for burying this thing.
Yeah, he was.
Which is interesting because usually you'd expect it to be a managerial thing, like management having the big say on it.
Yeah.
But apparently, Quenneville had a big say. But then we can't forget about this McDonough guy, right? Because based on what I'm reading in this article at The Athletic, this guy called all the shots. He was the team president. He had a huge role in everything. And so I don't think he gets. I mean, he definitely can't. Just because he's not in the league anymore, just because he doesn't have a position to lose, doesn't mean he shouldn't be. The finger shouldn't be pointed at him either. Yeah,
he's kind of hiding behind anonymity.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. And it's terrible. It's terrible what you read here. Apparently he was giving the Aldridge character. He was giving his performance evaluations after every other year,
really?
And giving him glowing performance evaluations. And it was his call to let him party with the cup and all that jazz. So this is a big guy. This McDonough is arguably the very head honcho of all of this.
So if it was Quenneville's kind of idea, let's not deal with this. It was McDonough who made it happen.
Put it into action. Who kind of did the deed.
It. And maybe he said to the team, guys, don't touch this. I'm going to take the fall. Leave it to me. Don't touch it. Maybe it was him who did that. Which doesn't exonerate anyone else, of course. But, that's what happened.
I have another statement.
Yeah.
This is so we talked about Shuffle Day Off.
Yep.
This is Gary Bettman on Shuffle Day Off today.
Right. Good.
While on some level it would be easiest to paint everyone with any association to this terrible matter with the same broad brush, I believe that fundamental fairness requires a more in-depth analysis of the role of each person. Kevin Sheffield-Dayoff was not a member of the Blackhawks senior leadership team in 2010, and I cannot therefore assign him responsibility for the club's actions or inactions. He provided a full account of his degree of involvement in the matter, which was limited exclusively to his attendance at a single meeting, and I found him to be extremely forthcoming and credible in our discussion. So there you have it. That's why he's being left off the hook.
Well, what do you make of that? Like just paint the scene. Like you're an assistant GM, you're trying to make it in the league, and you're surrounded by hockey names like Bowman and team presidents and all this kind of stuff.
Let me continue. He was among the last to be included in the meeting. He was learning of a subject matter for the first time in the presence of his boss, GM Stan Bowman, his big boss, John McDonough, and the head coach, Quenneville. He was Brad Aldrich's direct superior. Sheffield-Dayoff had limited familiarity with the personnel involved, and he was essentially an observer to the discussion of possible next steps, with which discussion apparently ended with Sheffield-Dayoff believing that the matter was going to be investigated. That's all I got. So, again, passive observer, not really commenting in the meeting, kind of just your fly on the wall. That's kind of what they're painting in his office. So it's a moral argument. It's a moral argument.
Yeah,
do you think that guy should be held accountable here?
Right. Well, to be honest, like it all comes down to like you are the assistant GM, that he's on your staff. Like first of all, why would this player make up this story? Like if they're going into the meeting saying like, oh, we might have to investigate this, like you're already assuming that this might not be true, which I don't understand. Why would a black ace come into your organization late in the playoffs and say, hey guys, something crazy happened? Like no one will do that. So you have to assume a degree of truth to the story, and then you're making the decision, we're going to keep this guy fucking coaching videos to our team, and we're going to give him the cup. I don't think like anyone gets off the hook on that. Yeah. Even if you're the assistant GM, you'd have to say like, guys, how do we want this guy? Like, what if he comes up to another player? How do we want this guy on the team? Is he not the distraction? This video coach, is he not the guy that we should be worried about? Not this fucking Kyle, like, let's bury this beach story. Yeah. Why not get rid of the fucking culprit of the story? Yeah. So it's hard. I get it. He's like, you're a new kid on the hockey team, right? All these guys, like, they've been there so long. It's hard to voice up. And then who knows, maybe he did. Or if he did, I'm sure he would have said something to Bettman. But
yeah, no, I mean, I'll be honest. Just reading that, I think Kevin Sheffield-Dayoff should have been fired too.
Yeah.
Just because you're a passive observer doesn't make an excuse to just let your underlings do their business.
Yeah.
And continue doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't really like that statement by Bettman. It's like, well, he wasn't involved in the planning and the plan,
right,
to slide it under the rug.
And what kind of message does that send?
You are if you're not like disagreeing with your superiors.
Yeah.
Like, who's the guy in that meeting saying, guys, I don't think this is a really good idea? Like, sweeping.
Who knows? Who knows?
Who's the contrarian there?
I guess there was none.
There wasn't.
Doesn't sound like there was.
If you're not a contrarian, then you're just a follower.
You're a sheep.
You're a sheep, and he was a silent sheep. He went along with this. He didn't. You know, if someone's gonna discipline your underling, it's your superior, and he didn't do that.
Right.
He didn't discipline his guy. He didn't look after the matter there and then.
No.
So I don't know. I don't think he should have been left off the hook here.
No.
I think there's some serious questioning here of Gary Bettman's decision.
Yeah, and you set a precedent, right? That you know, if you're ever in that situation, as say you're a kid following this story, or a teenager, that if you're not in that leadership role, don't even speak up. Don't worry, because you're not going to be blamed for anything. It's not on you, right? So that's the message we're sending.
But he's at the meeting.
Masses.
You got to invite to this exclusive behind the door meeting,
which means,
and you did dick all.
Yes.
To do anything here.
Which means you have decision making power, or otherwise you're not in the meeting. They don't want this getting out to any more than they should. Than they want to, right?
Yeah.
Then you're not in the meeting, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah. Well, let's quickly go to Jonathan Toews. We've talked about the quotes from the assistant GM, the GM, the president. What did the captain have to say, Captain Taves have to say about the matter when questioned about it yesterday?
And this is, for me, this is where it's most disappointing, because this is a player I lauded for his character and the fact that he's a winner, and I had the jersey. And just for the record, I did, as soon as I saw the Kyle Beach interview with Rick Westhead, I went straight to my basement and I threw my Jonathan Toews jersey in the trash, and I showed you guys that, because this is just so disappointing. Not only did Toews, Kane, and the whole leadership group from the players like totally deny this happened, but now we're getting this statement from Toews, which is extremely disappointing. So, do you want me to just read the whole thing, or do you want me to give you the Cole's notes?
Cole's notes is probably best.
Okay, so the first paragraph starts out by saying, to me, Stan and Al, make any argument you want, are not directly complicit in the activities that happened. So right off the bat, he's starting his statement. Can you imagine? He's starting his statement by defending two people directly involved in what happened. Mm-hmm. He's like, make any statement you want. They're not directly involved. But the fact that they're in action literally led to other people being assaulted and this guy going to jail because they didn't do anything. Like, I get the feeling this guy didn't even fucking read the statement. Mm-hmm. Sure, don't read the 107-page thing, but fucking educate yourself, because you're getting on a microphone, right? The spotlight's on this guy. And now he's going on about people like Al and Stan have made coming to the Blackhawks for players around the league who come here to play one of the special places to play. To me, I have a ton of respect for them as people.
That hurts.
Well, don't you fucking know? Like, what is that about? You're the star. You're the face of the franchise. You're the star of the team. No fucking shit that you are going to be treated well by management and ownership. Like, whoop-de-fucking-do. A player that was on your team that you were captain of literally went through hell, and you're talking about this is a special place to play. What is that? You are shitting me. They heard about this. Your management, the people you're defending, they heard about this, and they did nothing about it. And he's like defending them as good people. Oh, I don't think they should lose their jobs. Like, what the fuck? They were allowed to keep their jobs for 11 years more than they fucking should have. God, for someone like Stan, who has done so much for the Blackhawks, and Al as well, to lose everything they care about and their livelihoods as well. Their livelihoods? Are you fucking shitting me? They're fucking millionaires. Stan Bowman is from the biggest hockey name maybe of all time. Like, you got to be kidding me, man. And he doesn't like name the victim in this particular statement at all. It's insane to me. Like, it just shows a complete... First of all, I think he's an actual fucking idiot. That's the first thing I'm going to say. You have no intelligence. Even if you talk to a PR team, they're either shit or you didn't listen to them, because this is garbage. And then just absolutely the worst kind of leadership I could ever imagine. And then, like, aside from the statement, the fact of the matter is players were taunting Beach after the incident happened for, a few seasons in training camp or whatever, and he didn't do anything to stop it. That's just, he didn't speak up. According to him, he didn't fucking know about it, right? So why are they taunting this guy about something? And why did fucking Brad Aldrich be let go from the team? Do you know? And if not, why? Like, how do you not know? So he's just a fucking clown. He's as shady as they come. Lump him in there with fucking Patrick Kane, who's got a long history of being a dick, and then now Duncan Keith as well. It's just so fucking disappointing.
Yeah, Taves went on to say, I have a lot of respect for them as people. They're good people. When it comes down to how they feel looking back on the situation, that's not up to me to comment on. So you're the face of the franchise. This is your opportunity. You're in the spotlight, to talk about this, to shed light on this, to expose these, terrible individuals. And he opts to go, that's not up to me to comment on. And
Unreal.
And they're, by the way, they're good people.
Unreal. Like, buddy, they just got canned. They're not, like, You don't have to rely on them anymore. Like, what are you even doing?
Patrick Kane, I knew Stan very well. Know him as a great man. He did a lot for me personally coming into the league and over the course of my career. I'm sure he would have handled things differently nowadays. What happened in the past, and I think the organization made the right moves to get the Blackhawks going forward and the right steps in making sure they're trending forward.
What is that about? Like, that's shorter, but albeit
I don't understand.
Sort of dumber.
When he talks about, I think the organization made the right moves to get the Blackhawks going forward in the right direction and making sure they're is that the decision making now, or is that in the past?
It's fucking word vomit. I don't know what it is. I don't know what that means.
Like, if he's saying he subscribes to what they're doing right now, then great. But is he? There's a chance he's talking about what they did in the past, in which case, no, that's disgraceful.
I think he's just dancing around the topic. You don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's
a mess.
It's a mess, and you know what? It keeps coming up. Like, why aren't there some good entities that, like, are there no good people in management?
Well, the hero.
These days?
Well, you mentioned the hero in all of this is the skills coach, right?
Right.
Because he's the only one who actually did his job.
Yeah.
Although he was an underling, he's a skills coach. He doesn't
have any power. Yeah. It's like, I just can't believe that in such a and you know what, we should talk about the ownership, because I think it's come out that based on the reports and based on everything, ownership didn't know about this at the time. They didn't know anything about it. And I tend to be able to believe that, because why would they want to leak that info to the ownership? That kind of thing. So I believe them that they didn't have any knowledge of this. But like, what you could have done, honestly, like, here's and this is just me spitballing, anyone in that room that knew about this, or even the skills coach, anybody, you could have gone to ownership and said, hey, this is what's gone down. You have the ultimate say. Forget the fucking president. You could have done that. You could have taken this guy out of your locker room. You could have been Kevin Cheveldayoff, assistant general manager, gone straight to ownership after this meeting and said, hey, I'm not comfortable with something that's going down in the team here. And then boom. Like, does it cause division? Sure, but like, come on. You could have gone to Bettman, right?
Yeah.
You should be able to go to Bettman for these things.
Let me ask you this question. This might be an elementary question, but I want to ask it nonetheless.
Okay.
Why is this story, like, what prompted this story to come out? What like 8 years later or longer, 10 years later? Why now? What happened? What opened the floodgates? Where did this start?
So I want to say, and it's a good question because it gets lost in the shuffle. Like, why now? I think it's because the player John Doe came forward after this time to try to get this off his chest, maybe, or get it out there. I think that's why.
Because I heard a take on TSN from that Westhead character.
Okay.
And he said, as much as this is a failure by ownership and management and personnel involved on the team, it's also a failure by journalists, by journalism.
Sure.
For just leaving this under the rug for so long, for no one being proactive to seek this story out. Why is it a dozen years later?
That's absolutely right.
You know, the journalists are the ones who are supposed to get these stories, who are supposed to report this stuff.
The breadcrumbs are there.
Did a journalist, and then the question has to be asked, did a journalist know full well about this and keep it under the rug? You know? Was this a delayed response because they knew higher ups would get hurt? You know, this borders on, you know, the whole situation, like the famous situation in Boston where priests are sexually assaulting children and journalists are not, and they're trying to dig up what's going on and things are being covered up and stuff like that. I want to know who knew, who wasn't being proactive, and in a way this is a failure of the journalism industry.
So now you've said that, and I agree, but I have a new theory based on that statement. My theory is that they did the inaction and the letting this guy have his day with the cup and letting him do all this stuff was to draw attention away from what he did. It's like, if we fire him cut and dry right now, there's going to be questions. If we don't let him spend a day with the cup, there's going to be questions. So they let him go quietly over the offseason or whenever they did, and the questions didn't arise. So the journalist didn't have a scent to pick up immediately. He then went on to do other things, which no one brought kind of back to the forefront of Chicago. But that might be why they did the inaction that they did, was to throw the scent off, perhaps. Because that's the last thing they would have wanted. Hey, you won the cup, but why'd you just fire this guy? Why'd you can him immediately? Why didn't you let him have the day with the cup? We should dig into this. So it's there's more to that. But I never thought of that angle.
Yeah. No, because how else are we going to learn, right? This Rick Westhead, he gets the resources from TSN to do all this work, you know? But who's the Rick Westhead 12 years ago? Yeah. You know? So, it's fascinating. There's so many angles to pick it apart from. Mm-hmm. And like I said, we can talk ad nauseum, but I think I've said my part. So it's entirely up to you where you want to go from here. If you have any last words on this saga.
I think that just like my general feeling is I feel like a little bit betrayed by the NHL. Like, not to make it about me, but I just feel like hockey has been always such a sanctity, like such a safe, like holy place. And I feel a little bit betrayed by what's gone down here. I always assume the best of character from the sport, but now we realize that that's not always the case. And I just hope that what I really hope, Nick, is that everyone around the league takes, obviously it's a huge news story. It's causing a massive ripples. They take a hard look at this and they realize that's a non-option. Like, non-action is a non-option from now on. So now hopefully we have a better NHL and we have a better NBA even. Like, they're watching too. Everyone's watching. So hopefully our sports leagues are now better.
Well, and it raises the age-old question of, like, sanctity of the locker room, sacred, everything that happens here, nothing is spoken of, you know? Like, this is hockey of all sports. It's what happens in the room stays in the room, you know, very private. It's the age-old question. How do you match that up against hiding injustices like this, you know? If the whole team was aware of this, how much of them are keeping it under the rug because of the age-old what happens in the room stays in the room, boys. None of that shit, you know? Like, there's pictures being, what was that, like, on Instagram I saw people where they uncovered a photo where in the back they were making fun of, they said something about gays who was that?
So that was they just won the cup, and on the board it said, you know, Chris Pronger is gay.
Yeah, it's gay. So, like, just stuff like that, like what's going on in the dressing room. And how much of that has a role to play here? And do things need to change in that respect, you know? Because hockey of all sports, that's the one that you really pinpoint as that's always been the thing, you know? Yeah.
And you know what's it's interesting because I think nowadays, at least, I mean, 2010 was as much as it wasn't that long ago, it was a different time. I think nowadays we are in a point where we know where the lines are drawn. We know this is crossing the line now. And I think that with the big boom of social media and even social justice, those that want to stick up for things like this have a ton of power and a ton of people backing them. Because think about 2010, where it was we were in grade 9 of high school. Like, Twitter wasn't really a thing. If I wanted to come out from my NHL team and say, hey, this guy's being a dick, like, you didn't have all of social media backing you because it's such a great cause. You just had the might of management to battle, essentially. So now we've got this big movement of people with more voices, and I think that's going to empower more people to stand up against this kind of thing. Yeah.
Hopefully that's one of the few good things we can take away from this, you know, tragic story. But we got to move along. Mm-hmm. We can go two directions here. We can talk about our trip, or we can talk about the Leafs. Where do you want to go from here?
I kind of want to get into the trip.
Okay, so let's do that, and then we'll talk about the Leafs, and then we'll get into our that'll be a nice segue to get into our fantasy segment for today.
By the way, just a quick aside here. We are on Eichel watch.
Oh,
we are officially
things have heated up again?
Yeah, we're on hard Eichel watch.
Okay.
It's Friday night, October the 29th. There's some rumblings with Vegas in particular.
Vegas?
Yeah.
As they
And
should.
as
they should
from
be.
a relatively reputable source on Twitter, there are some rumblings that a deal is getting close, and we've heard officially from Chris Johnson's of the world that the NHLPA is they're already ready to step in for a grievance here. So I don't think Buffalo wants to deal with the whole grievance side of things, so they're looking to get a deal done quicker. We'll see what happens.
See, my immediate reaction is it's the right fit because they can't score. We saw that in the playoffs last year against Montreal. Their best players are injured right now. The season is falling away. They lost all those games. I know they've won back-to-back, so they've steadied things kind of here. Yeah. But my big question is the money. I'm curious how they make the money work. Like I have no doubt Vegas will sell all their prospects, all their picks to get Jack Eichel.
Krebs is gone.
That owner, he gives a fuck about development and the future. He said when they started, we're winning a championship in the first 5 years, right? He said something like that. Yeah. Well, it's 3 years. It's been 4 years, and they still don't have a championship. So this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. So Krebs, we're talking Krebs. We're talking firsts. Yeah. We're talking whatever else they have, and then they're gonna have to make the money work somehow. Which I don't know, because that team's already pressed against the cap with all those signings they made: Pietrangelo, Stone, Pacioretty. The list goes on. How do you make it work? My guess is it probably involves trading one of the wingers, one of the big name wingers, to make some space because they've got depth on the wing. Right. Their problem is no depth down the middle. Yep. So who do they trade? Is it Jonathan Marchessault? I don't know. Is it Reilly Smith? I don't know. Yeah. It's a great question. It's not. I don't see it coming from the defense. They like their defense. Yeah. I don't see them moving an Alec Martinez. You don't do that. Right. So that's my guess.
And I could see a feasible move of like a Krebs, a top 6 winger, and a first, and maybe another draft pick.
Yeah, something else like a second.
Like this, to me, that's relatively reasonable.
Yep.
And
Krebs is a solid prospect, and he's solid.
The Krebs Cousins connection is interesting. At very least, it's very interesting.
Yeah, he's definitely the kind of prospect you'd involve in a trade like that. They have no other prospect who even comes close to Krebs. Yeah. That's the problem with them. They have Krebs, and then they don't have much else. Right. So it's definitely Peyton Krebs. I think it's safe to say he's gone if this deal goes through. But that's interesting. I didn't know that. So.
Yes.
Okay.
We're on watch.
So where do you want to start with this?
Well, let's just give them a synopsis first. I mean, we had bought a couple of Ottawa. I think we mentioned this. We bought a couple of Ottawa Senators tickets. This was one of them. It was Ottawa Senators versus Rangers last Saturday. I don't know the exact date, but it was a matinee, 1:00. And the idea that we had was let's bundle
23rd.
So let's bundle in a Kingston Frontenacs game on the Friday beforehand. We'll hang out in Kingston the night before, and then we'll hit this Sens game. And the Rangers ties we have, and the Sens are just a fun team to watch. So that's kind of where that came about. It was us, and it was Mike, who you'll know as
friend of the show.
Friend of the show, exactly. So let's start with Kingston. Let's start with the Fronts. Let's start with
we pull into Kingston a little late for the game, for reasons we won't get into.
You don't want to know.
No. And we basically arrive. We missed the first half of the first period. We get in. We get into our seats, and I'll be brief. I'll be succinct. This was far from a great Shane Wright game. I've seen 7 Shane Wright games in my time as a fan, a Kingston Frontenacs fan. This was the worst game I've ever been to that Shane Wright played in. The way I described it to the lads was this was a guy who hadn't picked up a hockey stick in 3 months, took the summer off, and basically showed up, and now he's playing his first game of beer league in 3 months. He wasn't on it. He'd try to get a shot off, and he'd whiff on the puck. Or he'd try to do a drag and a pull around some guy, and he just misplay the puck.
Right.
Was the defensive awareness there that you expect? Sure. But you're not the number one prospect in the world, or the best undrafted prospect in the world, if you don't have some offense, to your game. Right. And frankly, other than a few nice passes, I just didn't see it from the guy. So this was his worst performance that I've seen. 6 goals scored by Kingston. They won 6-1. and not 1 point.
Not 1 point.
From Shane.
Which is shocking. And for further reference, to date this,
What
it's 6 games.
5 points. It's in 6 games. Or
6 points.
6 points in
games.
6 games.
So for the record, and this is weird. You'll find it weird too. He was going into that game with 6 points in 5 games. He's now 2 games pointless. He hasn't played since to this day.
I know.
It's weird.
Playing tonight.
He's playing tonight. He hasn't played since. So, yeah, hopefully he's shaking off a bit of the cobwebs. But my perception was he looked a little. For some reason, he looked a little small out there, and he looked a little slow out there. You know, he just. I'm not saying his brain, like his processing, was behind the pace of play, but it looks like maybe he's thinking a bit too much and his legs aren't moving. Like, it's funny because it's almost like what's happening to Laffy in the NHL looked like it was plaguing Shane as well. I think he wasn't moving his feet very well. The puck bounced off his stick a couple times. He got off a couple nice shots, but I would like a bit more quickness out of that. And yeah, he was targeted for sure. Like guys were swarming him, that's for sure. But I mean, it's the OHL. You've got to be able to get around that. And I worry that the whole year off last year might have had some effect. Like, what kind of effect does that have on these kids? But then you also have to bring it back. Like, you know, everyone missed a year. Almost everyone missed a year in the OHL. That is. So why is Shane feeling so much of the brunt? And it just, honestly, it hurts me personally even more because, you know, I'm such a Habs fan and they're doing so poorly. And I like Shane. Like he's the full package, and I want him to have a lot of success this year. And I just hope he picks it up. I really do.
But hey, the team looks good. You know, they got the LA 5th round pick, Martin Chromiak.
He looked really good.
He's kind of Shane's butt buddy on that top line. And he looked great. If there's like a most improved player who I remember watching from when I was there as a student and on this little retreat we went on last week, he was definitely the most improved. Like, his skating is way better. Beautiful skater, very fluid, nice skater. And they had some good chemistry, him and Shane. You know, mixed bag, that Francesco Arcuri, he's another one of the few drafted players they have. He's a Dallas draft pick, 6th round. He was pretty good. He had a good two-way game going. This Paul Ludwinski, who was their 1st round pick last year, he was very impressive. He's going to be the face of the franchise next year when Shane leaves. So he kind of impressed, undersized but very skilled. Looked very, very talented out there. And then, of course, one guy we didn't even talk about, because rightfully so, he didn't play. Zaid Wisdom's still on this team.
Right.
So they had all those guys on the top line, that top power play I just mentioned. And they're going to get Zaid Wisdom back when he comes back from injury. So that's why this Scott Wheeler has them as his pick to win the Memorial Cup. Which is I don't think that's going to happen. Like, I know this Kingston team well enough. I don't think they're that good.
Yeah.
But there were times in that game we were like, this Peterborough team's better.
We did. Oh yeah.
And it was Peterborough.
It was 6-1 against, you know, Peterborough, but we liked a lot of their play. First half of the game, we liked their play even more, right?
But there were turnovers. There was 2-on-1s. The game just blew up in their face, you know?
Yeah. Which is, but I mean, Wheeler's thinking, like, Wheeler is assuming that Shane Wright takes the step we think he's going to take.
And it hasn't happened yet.
Which is a dominant force in this league. Like I can win a game on my own kind of force.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that happens, they could win. They could get to a Memorial Cup final for sure. But, I mean, when Peterborough gets Mason McTavish back, you know, it might be a different story.
I agree.
It might be a different story.
And this is going to motivate me to look at the box score after every game, you know? Look at the highlights, see how he's doing. Because I hadn't been to this point, but all it takes is going to one game. You get a little more emotionally invested.
So now we're on watch.
I'm following every game.
Yeah.
I can already tell you it's a scoreless first period against Ottawa. So he still hasn't gotten it together.
That's not good.
So
and it'd be different if he was getting shots, but he's averaging about 3 shots a game, which sounds like a lot for NHL standards.
Yeah.
But it's like, for reference, Laffy was averaging 4.5 shots a game.
Well, here you go. They just scored This is breaking news out of Kingston, Ontario. They just
breaking.
scored, and it's a power play goal assisted by Shane Wright.
Okay, great.
So
he's on the board.
He's got an assist.
Ladies and gentlemen.
See, why couldn't we go to this game? So yeah, there you have it.
I hope he picks it up.
Okay. Well,
because further context, this guy is going to be leaned on to lead Team Canada. Like that's
lots of pressure.
That's one of the big major storylines of this year. Shane Wright's Team Canada year, right?
Yeah.
That is this year, and like, yeah, hopefully he goes in rolling, but he's gonna be a leadership piece on that team, and hopefully the marquee player. Hopefully,
yeah.
But I mean, keep in mind, this is the guy whose rookie year in the OHL bested McDavid's rookie year in the OHL. So, hey, and pressure is very high.
Again, this will be in Western Canada again, this tournament.
Edmonton?
Red Deer?
Ah, okay.
Is it Red Deer?
Not
or was
sure.
that last year?
Not sure.
I remember knowing back-to-back years they're doing
in Edmonton / Red Deer, I think.
Yeah,
I think.
So I believe it's still in Canada, so there'll be lots of pressure as always when it's on home turf.
We might go to that.
Well, I'm more excited about the international experiences, than just going to Alberta. But yeah, no, it's a good thought. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Russia.
The game ends. We go to an establishment which involved seeing some players on the Kingston Frontenacs get kicked out of the bar.
Yeah,
for trying to get some drinks for being underage.
Yeah,
that was a pleasant surprise. We're not going to name the players because we're not about doing that, even though we know their identities.
We do. We're sitting right across the table from them, and we saw this all go down.
Yeah,
we saw them reluctantly show their IDs and then reluctantly walk out of the bar.
Right. Yeah. It was a good story. And then we proceeded to wake up the following morning, hungover, cotton mouth, McDonald's breakfast in our guts.
Oh God!
And we drove over.
All in all, morale was at a medium.
Morale. Yeah, morale wasn't good to start the day. I won't lie. But then we make the short 2-hour drive from Kingston to Ottawa, and we basically look for a parking lot. We get to the game, we park, we get our drinks from the local LCBO. Which comment on this arena first before we get into the nitty gritties here. What did you think driving up to the arena? You see all these Kelseys and Montanas and Baton Rouges around, and you what do you think? What's going through your mind?
Well, you made a great point when we were there. You said this is like having an NHL rink in Aurora, Ontario, and I said, you know what? This feels like home. This feels like home. No, I've had experience passing by the Senators arena, and it is what it is, guys. It's like 30-40 minutes out of town. It's in the suburb with all these strip malls and shit. And yeah, there's nothing to look at. But what we later realized was that it created an environment which is unique to the NHL, in my opinion. So we got our beer. We loaded it up. We went into one parking lot, as Nick said. We paid $12 to get into this parking lot. And that gets you in. And there was no one we're like, where the fuck is everybody? There's no one in this parking lot. The parking lot adjacent to us, had 1,000 cars with a large grouping of Rangers fans drinking and having a merry time at the mere hour of 11 a.m. Just getting tossed and hammered. So we're like, boys, I'm sorry to do this, but we got to pay an extra $12 and we got to go over to there. Because what we ended up seeing was Laffy's famous meme of a father. We saw Hugo.
In the flesh.
We saw Hugo Lafreniere towering over everybody amongst a literal sea of 100 Lafreniere jerseys. It was the extended family, friends, ex-teammates, and even enemies of Alexis Lafreniere doing what they did in Montreal, as you saw. It was a big news story. And they were just tailgating. It was a great scene. It was a tailgating party in the Senators parking lot. And it was just Rangers jerseys everywhere. So we kind of parked on the outskirts of that. We played our Tragically Hip out of the back of the Jeep. I had my Laffy jersey on, obviously. And we just drank a bunch of beer. And it was just like, you know what? Do you get this in a city of Toronto? Do you get this in a New York? Do you get this in a Boston? You don't. Like, as much as it is a shitty situation for the people that live in Ottawa, for those on the outskirts, like, this is a great experience. Like, the tailgate experience is an underrated, undervalued experience. And it's what makes the Bills games such a great thing. It's why the Argos never took off, because it's not allowed in the fucking city of Toronto, essentially. But we had a great time. We were slinging beers. We got in there. I was impressed with the atmosphere. You know, we got second row, right behind the goalie, to the left.
Let's talk about the warm-ups.
Yeah,
Before you even get it, that was arguably my favorite part
Our
of the
friend got
afternoon.
hit with a puck.
That was my favorite. Yeah.
And we didn't even know. Why didn't he tell us? On the way home from the whole trip, he's like, by the way, guys, I got hit with a puck in warm-up. And we're like, what are you
hit
talking about?
by a Mika Zibanejad ricochet off the glass.
It was crazy. We're like, why didn't you tell us? This is huge news. Yeah.
And he didn't even keep the puck. He gave it, well, to his credit, he gave it to the kid next to him.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So we were right at the glass for the Rangers warm-up, and it was surreal. Honestly, it was absolutely surreal.
Let this be a PSA to every fan out there. Show up, an hour before every game, and go, I don't care where your seats are, 500 level, nosebleeds, box, wherever. You go to the game an hour before. You go to whatever section you want in the lower bowl where the warm-ups are. No security is there. I can't speak for other arenas. This was in Ottawa. No security's checking your ticket slip asking, where you sitting? You're not allowed here. Yeah. We just walk right on down, and you can literally see these players in the flesh right next to you. It's amazing. Yeah. And you could have just paid $15 to get into the arena that day, that afternoon, and you get to see this half hour of just warm-ups for free.
I would pay that money each and every time. Like, that was so worth it. Yeah. Like, just seeing the warm-up even. Oh my God. Like, if I paid $90 to watch the warm-up and do the tailgate, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
I don't even need to see the game.
Yeah.
So that was amazing.
Can't comment though. Like I did the same thing in Montreal with some friends a year ago. There was security, but they don't check your tickets. They're kind of just there as placeholders. They're there. They make sure everyone's getting in and out. So no bullshit in Montreal, and in Ottawa, no bullshit at all. So highly recommend those two markets. I will be going to a Leaf game in a month to see the Colorado Avalanche. Yeah. I will try to do the very same thing. My prediction is they will not let me in.
So, yeah, funny story. Nick's going to the game in Toronto, Avs, and I'm
Wednesday, and you'll be going the following.
Joe, Mike, and I are going to the Senators version of the same thing.
On Saturday.
It's going to be great to compare the two experiences, right? And I'm sure our game's at 7 or whatever, or 7 or 8.
Mine will be at 7.
So it'll be great to compare the matinee versus
against the night,
the later game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
But just to move on from just to get back to our experience, warm-ups were great. Like you said before I interrupted, we were second row, a little off-centered from Matt Murray, where the Rangers were going to be shooting twice. Mm-hmm. And what did you think of the view?
Fantastic. As much as we couldn't see what was going on down at the other end, so it wasn't like that full experience. Like, what we did see was like unparalleled. It was insane. Like I could not follow the pace of play at times. It was that cool. It was that fast.
Yeah.
And we saw a couple goals go in right beside us.
We saw the biggest goals of the game. For the record, it was 2-0 Ottawa for the whole game. The Rangers, on the record, after the game, was saying this was the worst game they played all season, which I told Kyle on several occasions. This is an awful game by the Rangers. Yeah. If this game stays 2-0, I'm going to leave here disappointed.
Right.
Because this was just not for 2 periods, I don't think it was a very good game. There was the first shot of the game. The first shot of the game went in off a beautiful pass from Timmy Stützle, who had a great game with the exception of the diving, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
And then the Rangers, just in the last 10 minutes, they turned it on. Mm-hmm. You had some Adam Fox spin moves at the blue line. You had him set up a goal entirely all Adam Fox. You had Chris Kreider banging into the crease. Apparently that's why Matt Murray had to leave the game, because he got hit by Kreider. Yeah. That's why he had the whole fight with him in Ottawa. It was just, there was a lot of drama.
Yeah. I was blown away by, I think, to me, the best player on the ice was Drake Bathurst. For the forward side of things, obviously Adam Fox was the best D on the ice, but just an awesome experience. And to be honest, like, it could have been a bad, like on TV, I think it would have been a bad game, but the spectacle of it all like I was never at a dry
Well, it
moment.
goes to show you a mediocre game
Yes.
on TV
Oh,
can be an.
Could you imagine if
excellent
it was a great
in
game?
person. Yeah,
That would have been amazing. And
Agree.
I found us on the highlight pack, by the way.
really.
You
When?
can see us on the highlight pack.
Oh, like if you just watch the recap.
Yeah, we're in the shot.
I bet. I mean, we're
Yeah.
second row. You probably didn't get.
Yeah.
You didn't get on. TSN probably didn't actually get you in a shot. If you watched the whole game,
Mm.
maybe they did.
Well,
neither of us.
all
have
I know
watched
is
the
on
game.
the NHL website. If you hit the 5-minute
We'll be
highlight
showing,
pack,
eh?
you'll see us,
That's great.
which is great. And yeah, just an awesome experience. To me, Laffy looked pretty good. He had some moments there, and he looks way faster in person. Like he looks more professional. He looks bigger.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like an NHL player in person, whereas on TV he sort of looks like a Bambi, you know. So that was cool to see. And then Stützle had some big moments, but aside from the game, it was just such a cool experience. And I'm jealous because it was only over $100, and it was such a spectacle.
Yeah, I was talking to someone at work today who's got season tickets for the Leafs, and just to sit in the Reds, which is considered, I guess that's like upper 100s or better 200s.
Yeah.
Maybe I think that's upper 100s if you're in the Reds, because I haven't been to a Leaf game in like years. He's paying $450 for a pair of tickets. So basically double the price we paid
Yeah.
to sit in a much higher spot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it speaks volumes.
And not to mention those guys from Kingston we saw at the bar. They were at the game
They
too.
were at the game. We turned around, and those very same stooges who got thrown out of the bar for trying to use their fake IDs are at the game.
They were
Crazy
following us
weekend.
all weekend.
Crazy weekend.
Great. It was a pure hockey weekend. We then went back to we had a hostel. We had the hostel
Shout out to
experience.
the Ottawa Backpackers Inn.
Yep.
Highly recommend for any people that want to stay in Ottawa.
Yep, a mere 5-minute walk from the Byward Market. Great host we had. I forget his name, but he was a kind gentleman, and it was just a great hockey weekend, capped off by a honestly, like COVID related. It was like hearing live music again at whatever the bar was.
The Harding Crown.
The Harding Crown was fantastic. It was a great way to just put a cherry on top of the weekend, and we had a great time there. And then we were out 7 a.m. the next morning.
Yep. We were back in Toronto by noon,
Yep.
back in the office by 2, and there you go. So it was a lot, like very congested weekend, but it worked out. You know, in these COVID times, not a lot of things do work out, but we got to make the most of our experience.
We did.
So there you have it.
Bless it.
So you give the Ottawa experience like 5
Oh my
stars?
God. Like don't listen to the bullshit that these guys feed you about the Senators experience being shitty. Go with the idea of it's a tailgate party, and then it's like a game, and it's a fun team to watch. Like I give it a hard 9 out of 10 for experience.
See, it's
affordable tailgate, fucking awesome team to watch.
Fascinating because they did a rankings of the best and worst arenas to go watch a game. And Ottawa was, I believe, second last. You know,
No way.
This was an athletic
Right behind
article.
Arizona.
This was an athletic article, and like here, the Senators. This is from the Athletic. The Senators aren't just moribund on the ice. Moribund. I've never heard of that term.
Wow.
They're also at the bottom of the league when it comes to in-game experience, thanks primarily to an aging, out-of-the-way building that is surrounded by more or less complete absence of life.
Oh my.
Here's hoping the club can get that new building built in LeBreton Flats or somewhere else that's closer to downtown. And for that to happen, it probably also needs a new owner. Here's hoping for that, too.
And I get it. Like, yeah, it would be cool if we could go to a slick, like, to go to the Byward Market before the game, go to the game, and then go after. You know,
I'm telling you, you're
great.
in for a different experience this night game because you're going to be tired.
I know.
You know how hard it was driving out of there.
Yeah.
It's even harder at night.
Yeah.
You're going to get downtown at 11:30, and by then you're going to be so exhausted. You're just going to be like, I don't even want to go out. So you guys are going to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of this matinee thing.
We will see.
But you're going to learn the hard way.
Because we got to nap a little bit, you know, when we got back.
Yeah, it was nice.
You know,
Watch the Leaf game then you go out.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I have my hopes high because it was a great experience, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. So we move on.
We do.
To the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, God.
To cap off our big three topics here.
We're sad we don't have Joe on the show for this because I would love to get his take.
Of course.
Quite frankly, like I know he's pissed as anybody, and I'm just as happy as anybody.
For many reasons. I mean, originally we were just going to talk about their start. They're 3-4-1, which doesn't even sound
doesn't
that bad.
sound that bad, but given the context,
that you've lost 5 games, you've only won 3, and these have been some crushing games. You know, you've lost to. You lost the big Carolina game against Freddie Anderson. You lost to they lost to some bad teams. Who'd they lose to?
They lost to Pittsburgh with no players.
Yeah,
they lost
exactly.
to San Jose.
San Jose.
They lost to Carolina recently.
It's tough in Ottawa. So they've had some tough losses. And they finally picked it up with an overtime win against Chicago. But fuck, anyone can beat Chicago right now.
Oh, they barely beat them. They shouldn't have
barely beat them. You're right.
You could argue, like, Campbell saved
they
the
were
game.
They were almost blown out of the water in the first period. They almost didn't even show up to the game.
They did. Like, that's what blows me away the most. Their inability to start the game.
To show up when you're that you should be that motivated.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah, I mean, guys are struggling right now. I believe Mitch Marnie, he's only got like 1 or 2 points, right?
Yeah, 2 points.
Exactly. So it's been a tough year. Matthews hasn't even been great since he came back. Like I believe his first points were in that Chicago game, or he was scoreless for the first 3 games, and then he had a goal against Carolina and an assist against Chicago. Yeah. So he's not doing too great. And overall the team just they've looked flat. They haven't responded. And in this market, us being in downtown right now as we record this, it's fuming. And you yourself thought some heads were going to roll soon. So where do you sit now on that front?
Well, so following the Pittsburgh game, first of all, I thought heads should have rolled after the fucking playoffs last year. But following the Pittsburgh game, the city reached a fever pitch to an extended level. Like, it was like almost a continuation of the playoffs. And the fact that fucking documentary came out reminded everybody of what happened. And then now they're starting shitty. That's why people are so fucking pissed off with the start. Because it's so fresh. It's so raw. And then you lose to Carolina. And I'm like, when will it be enough? When will it be enough to just... And then, you know what? It's crazy because the whole Blackhawks story couldn't have come at a better time for this team, because you take some media heat off your team. You get to beat down on the big bad Blackhawks that are like such a notorious franchise now. And honestly, it seems like things have quieted down, which sucks for me personally. And then we have the Reilly deal, which, if you want to give the details
breaking news, Morgan Reilly re-signs with the Leafs, 8-year contract. So buckle up, Leaf fans, as I proudly wear my Leaf jersey right here. He has been re-signed for 8 years. No movement clause for the first 6 years, while the final 2 seasons have a 10-team no-trade clause. So he is comfy in Toronto. I don't know why he's staying here. Yeah.
For the first 6 years. Oh, my God. That's brutal. So brutal.
Here's the big detail. $7.5 million AAV. So clearly an underpayment for someone who around the league is considered a top 2 defenseman. Whether he's seen as that in your eyes, I mean, I think the consensus opinion is he at least borders on that territory, if he's not already in that territory. So there you have it. Morgan Reilly deal. The Leafs end up saving. They get a bit of a discount here. And I feel bad for Morgan. Clearly a guy who could have made more on the open market, and now he has to be stuck to this toxic market for another 8 years, and he's going to be underpaid while doing it.
Yeah. So I overreacted early to this deal. I said
Great deal for the Leafs.
First of all, it money wise, it's a great deal to the Leafs. What I told you guys was I was disappointed in the fact that it looks like they're just going to run the same fucking core back each and every year of the next 2 or 3 years, and I was like just depressed at the idea. But I heard it on the radio coming over here today, and I tend to vibe with the idea that the fact that we've given Reilly this pretty decent deal almost signifies that one of the forward core are going to be the ones to move. Doesn't that kind of make a little bit of sense? Like what Dubas has done is like, if I'm choosing between Reilly at a good deal and one of these guys, I'm going to pick Reilly getting a good deal, right? And it makes sense. Like the money wise, it's a decent. He's a top pairing defenseman. I don't think he's a number one. I really don't. If you're going to win the cup, you need more than him. Sure. In my opinion. But 7.5 is not too bad. Obviously, it's going to look kind of shitty. But their window, Nick, if we really look at it, after this year is going to be 2 years. It's going to be the Matthews contract expiring in 2024, I believe. So that's what he's looking at. But then again, like after this year, correct, right? Reilly's deal kicks in 7.5. How do they move all that? Like, how do they fit that? Right now, they're right up against it. I don't know what Reilly made previously.
Well, let me give you the math. With the Reilly contract, the Leafs will now allocate 58.9% of their cap to 5 players.
Right.
Reilly, Matthews, Tavares, Marner, Nylander. So almost 60% of your salary cap, 5 players.
Right.
And that's your core, because Mitch is long-term. Tavares, long-term. Now Reilly is long term.
You can't commit to that. You can't commit to like Tavares. I don't think you can move his contract.
No,
bar none.
But a lot of people,
Marner,
a lot of people have said the same about Mitch, given how fucking high it is.
Marner's contract is movable because he's a young guy on term, albeit a bad term, but he's a young good player. Right?
I'm not sure about the term of the Nylander deal, but I do know the Matthews deal. It's just 2 years remaining.
Correct.
So that's the big one, right? The best player, the face of the franchise. His thing's up in 2 years. So to your point about running it back, it sounds like there's this year, there's next year, and then it's going to be
one more year after. So this year's going to play out, and then we've got 2 more Matthews years.
Is that right?
Think. Unless you want to pull up cap friendly there.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to say it's
that this year counts.
This and another one.
Wow. I feel like that'd be really tight.
What do we got?
2024. So we've got this year and 2 more years.
Okay,
yeah.
So fair enough. But again, like we've talked about it, like the theme of this conversation is if they don't get anything done this year, they don't have any success, things are going to change.
We had this conversation with Mike, and Mike is pretty convinced. I don't want to speak for Mike, but he's pretty convinced that the idea of shaking up the core is ridiculous. But like, how much losing is it going to take to be able to have the stones to do something like that? You know, like right now you're locked in with this core, and I asked you this on the weekend. What if January 15th comes and you're 9 points out of a playoff spot? What do you do? Like what's the move?
January, yeah, and I told you
because Dubas knows he's gone. He's dead gone if they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Let alone lose in the first round, because he's gone if they lose in the first round too.
Right. And the kind of conclusion we came to was, well, it's not going to be, management or that's an off-season move, or a coach, that's an off-season move. You know, Dubas and Kiefer package deals. You don't get rid of one without the other. We kind of concluded it's going to be personnel. And the one guy we pointed at was Morgan Reilly. And now we've just learned he has currently signed to the longest term deal on the Toronto Maple Leafs. So he's not going anywhere. So who's left to trade? You talked about Marner.
I actually have a theory, and I don't know if this is correct. But Morgan Reilly signs what we all can agree is a pretty good deal with a no movement clause. What if Toronto trades him this year? Like, does his contract then apply to the next team? Like the next team, say it's Florida, they get him at 8 years times 7.5 with a no movement clause.
Like you're asking me, do they get
What
the
if they trade Reilly at the deadline and the team that's getting him has a pre-negotiated contract of 7.5 million times 8?
How do you trade a player on a no movement clause?
Well, that's the thing. When does it kick in? Does he have one right now, or does he have one starting next year? That's a tough answer to, because if they're out of the playoffs like by trade deadline, obviously they're going to have to do something. You're not just going to run the same. You're not going to try not to recoup assets. So that's a really trick. I don't know the answer to that. That's a very tricky one.
Yeah.
Like, is he not tradable as of now? Is my question.
When does that kick in? Because technically he's not on the extension he just signed right now.
Correct.
He's on the last year of his deal.
Yes.
Hey, that's a great question, but I just don't buy, like, why do you don't trade the guy?
That's the thing, like, other than Nylander,
Yeah.
the other pieces of the core are so shitty contract wise that they're not tradable. Right? Reilly now has a contract that is pretty good for a top 2 defense pairing. That's tradable. Although you need defense, their defense sucks this year, so it doesn't make sense that way. So it's a mess. It's a total mess.
Yeah, it's
which I'm like, again, I'll reiterate, I want them to continue to not have success because I want things to change. I really do. I'm a closet Leafs fan because I can't stand this core, and I don't want them to win like this. You know, and I think you're in the same sort of boat.
Yeah, I'm actively rooting against them every night, and it pains me to say it wearing this jersey, but we've made this known well enough. I mean, so long as that core is there, I do not want them winning with this core. It's got to be a different core. I am a Leaf fan at heart. I am a fan of the city of Toronto. I'm a fan of our sports teams. But when the team is run by these spoiled brats, I just can't subscribe to cheering for them, frankly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing right now. So long as this regime's in place, every night's actively rooting against the Leafs.
Correct.
Hopefully they miss the playoffs. Hopefully they blow it up.
Well, let me ask you that. Like, in your opinion, do they make the playoffs? Like, if you look at the standings, you've got Tampa Bay's out of the playoffs, so they're going to obviously get in. So that spot's accounted for. Boston looks good.
Florida
looks amazing.
I know. But I had them in our preseason. I'm not backing away from my prediction. I had Montreal out. That pick's looking good right now. You know?
No, it's not.
I spot started Jake Allen against the Seattle Kraken. Remember before the season, we were saying Seattle. That's the team you spot start against.
I know.
No one can score on Seattle.
I know.
He gets lit up for 5 goals.
I know.
I'm pulling my hair out.
I know.
And I'm going to lose my matchup to Michael because Jake Allen gets lit up for 5 goals
But
in the crack house.
But he had a 50-save shutout.
The following night.
Yeah.
The fuck is going on here?
Can I just say something to you right now? Florida's 7-0-0. They're making the playoffs, okay?
Yeah.
The other teams taking up the Atlantic are Buffalo.
They're starting. Boston scuffling.
But Buffalo is taking up the Atlantic 5-1-1. They're
Crazy.
Probably not going to make it.
I can't wait to watch more Buffalo to see how this has happened.
Detroit is taking up number 3. It's 4-2-1, okay? Wild card teams, you have so Tampa Bay is going to take up Buffalo's spot, whatever. And then you have Toronto in 6th with a 3-4-1, a .438 winning percentage. Boston, by the way, has only played 6 games. They have a .500 winning percentage. They're above
they're
Toronto.
scuffling.
Okay, and then you have Montreal at the bottom with 2-6-0. So in my opinion, because the Metro is so strong, and the Metro by statistics has the least amount of losses in the entire league. If you don't make top 3 in the Atlantic, you don't make the playoffs.
Given how
Fair
strong the Metro is.
Florida, Tampa, Boston. Or do you think Toronto can unseat one of those teams?
They might.
Knowing what we know now.
They might be able to unseat Boston, given they still don't have really second line scoring. The goaltending's been iffy. They got shut out by Freddie Anderson and the Canes yesterday, and we'll get into Freddie Anderson later on when we get into our players who are surprising out of the gate.
Yeah. But do you see that happening? Boston missing the playoffs?
No, I stick with my prediction. You know,
You can't.
What do you mean I can't
you
stick with
can't.
my? Those are the 3 teams, and the Leafs will be a wild card team. You know, I forget who I have missing. I mean, the guys I have getting into the Metro are Pittsburgh, Washington. I had the Rangers missing, and you had the Rangers getting in. So I basically have Islanders, Carolina. I have all those getting in, but I have the Rangers out. I have the Leafs in. And I think that holds up. We saw the Rangers play. The Rangers aren't playing very well right now.
They're
but
not a good team.
But they have a good record for some reason.
Weirdly
They're getting their goaltending is getting them out of games. You know,
Correct. But
it's
they do
saving
have
their
that
asses.
goalie. They have that.
They got the
goalie.
goalie. Well, the Leafs goalie's been pretty good too,
And they've been losing.
It's a problem,
So what happens when he comes back down to earth?
right? Well, Mrazek's back. He'll be starting tomorrow. That'll be interesting.
Very.
So yeah, no. Hey, I still got them making it. You know, but you have them sitting out. But I still do. So we'll see. Maybe this contract extension just rejuvenates them, you know? Maybe
I don't see
a
that.
skip in their step.
I don't see that. I see. I just want in terms of winning percentage, they're third last. They're only ahead of Ottawa and Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
Only.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see. And it. Hey, if Buffalo or Detroit, God forbid, keeps up any sort of semblance of this pace, like I know it's only been 8 games, but that translates into the Leafs have to play at a 100-point pace for the rest of the year. You know, for the rest of the 100-point pace. Which, and my big hot take of the weekend in Ottawa was, I don't think, and this is why I traded Marner away from my fantasy team. I don't think Mitch Marner likes playing in Toronto anymore. I really don't. I can't see how someone would want such a spotlight, because every time he fucks up, everyone's on him. And once you become the whipping boy in this city, you are the whipping boy, and it's hard to get out of that. Ask Phil Kessel. You think Phil Kessel was pleased going to Pittsburgh and winning 2 cups? I think he was. I think he was pleased.
Yeah.
So Marner's officially the Maple Leafs whipping boy. And I question how long that will last, because I've already seen, first of all, the slow start, but I've already seen interviews with him almost tearing up. Okay.
Right. Well, and we saw that I sent you that thing with he got hit by the puck. His tooth got chipped.
Yeah.
You know?
Now he's a bit uglier. He's
Yeah.
just a little bit uglier.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a lot of adversity they're facing right now. And again, people, including myself, after their run against Montreal, said this season won't matter. This regular season won't matter. But every game is being so under the microscope. You know?
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen a season like this.
It's such a
It's
contrast.
must-watch TV.
Absolutely.
Must-watch TV.
You know, because people assume the Leafs would just be cruising in second place, something like that.
But
But
now
it's
they
not happening.
realize that the team's not very good.
No, I just don't. And that's the thing. Maybe they're not that good.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just not that good.
Yeah.
You know?
Like maybe Nick Ritchie's not the savior that
No,
Zach
I
Hyman
don't
was.
think
I
he
think
was.
people are realizing that. It took
and-
7 games for people to realize that.
Go figure. Edmonton is fucking crushing
Yep.
the West. They're unbelievable, and Hyman is loving life. They said this player defines this city.
Wow.
Zach Hyman defines
What a
Edmonton.
quote. Who gave that quote?
I forget. I think it was like
What
Bob
salesman?
Bob Stauffer or something.
Yeah.
He's like working class,
Yeah.
hard-working guy, and McDavid's thriving, right? And look at what's happening with the top line guys over here. They're floundering. It's really something. It's really something, and you and I can only hope it continues, because again, Shane Wright, man, like Toronto's in the race right now. Don't hey, it's a reality.
No.
It's
That would be such an embarrassment on so many levels for them to be in the running for the last. Oh my God!
Well, it's a reality though.
Right now, I don't think it's going to stay that 82 games. Long way to go. 75 more games. Let's see what happens.
They're not going to be in the running for Shane Wright.
Tough stretch here though. Vegas Tuesday. This is after Detroit. Vegas Tuesday. Tampa,
which is
Boston.
typically a structural team that you do not win against.
Yep.
Toronto-wise.
Yep.
They don't do well against those teams.
Yeah. Vegas, Tampa, Boston. So buckle up.
Oh, you're fine.
Lots of adversity on the horizon.
You go 0-3 there, and we're talking about heads rolling.
Mm-hmm. And Detroit's, don't sleep on Detroit.
Because they've
been good.
Cider's legit.
They won't have Mr. Anti-Vaxxer with them.
Right.
But they're still pretty good.
Raymond and Cider are legit. Like
I can't wait to watch.
I don't know how Yzerman does it.
Yet. Yeah.
So Yzerman reaches for Cider at 6, and we're all like, "Oh, well, what the hell?" And it's looking unbelievable.
Yeah.
Lucas Raymond puts up diddly squat numbers in the SHL for draft year and D+1, and now he's point per game in the NHL.
Yeah.
Makes no sense, right? But it's working. It's somehow working. This guy's a genius. He's a genius GM.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're legit. And Larkin has been unbelievable for me, fantasy-wise.
So, Bertuzzi's been great for me when he plays. When he plays, he's
that
been
top
great.
line.
Yeah.
Like, who would have thought that, replace Mantha with Raymond, and it's unbelievable. Those two players are really, really good.
I'm just surprised Raymond gets all this play so early in his career. Top line. Is he on the top power play?
I think so.
Like, that's unbelievable for someone to just you're in and you get that kind of treatment.
Well, you have a quick spark early with the top guys, and that's all it really takes.
I'm looking this up right now. We'll find out tomorrow when we watch them, but I'm just looking because I'm curious what chances you're giving these young players to succeed. And sure enough, top line, Raymond, Larkin, Bertuzzi, top power play. Fuck yeah, Cider and Raymond are the two guys running the power play, and then you got Bertuzzi, Larkin, and Fabry. So way to hand the keys to your players. I kind of wish I picked them up now. So there you have it.
Yeah, it's
okay. Well, speaking of Raymond, we'll get into our final segment today, as we're getting hungry on our part.
We're starving.
Or hangry, depending on how you want to break it down.
When are the Lovebirds getting back, too?
Yeah, that too is a question to ask.
We got to start this game?
Yeah. So, my overperformers, or do you want to go underperformers first?
I only have underperformers.
Okay.
But I can live look at overperformers.
So where do you want to start?
Underperformers.
Underperformers. Alexis Lafreniere.
Who just scored tonight, by the way.
Oh, really?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, until that point.
Thanks for bringing that up, though. Thank you very much.
He's had 4 points in 8 games, so about what we expected, right? As we predicted, a 50-point season would be a success.
50 to 60.
No, 50 would be a huge success.
Mild success.
I consider it a success.
Mild success.
He's had 3 goals, 1 assist through 8 games at the moment. That's good enough for 232 in Yahoo.
Did you just count this goal tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another guy in your team, Temmie Paneran.
Yeah.
Not a great start to the year, although he has an assist tonight. He's up to 5 points in 8 games, so not bad, but by Panarin standards, you should be getting a point per game. I was watching this guy play every game last year when I was on my Lafreniere train, and this guy played a role in every game. Mm-hmm. So I've been watching these games. I'm surprised what's going on here.
Yeah, he doesn't look like himself. He
Even
really doesn't.
Seeing him live in person, he was not one of the better players for the Rangers.
No, he did have that brilliant setup on the power play goal, but no, you're right.
Another guy who we like to chirp on this show, Taylor Hall. Not a great start to the year. 3 points in 6 games. That's good for 353 in Yahoo. Goes to tell you the struggles the Bruins are having to score.
Yeah.
Of course, we talked about him earlier. Mitch Marner, huge disappointment. 2 points in 8 games. Terrible line. That's good enough for 369 on Yahoo. And then a couple more. This guy, yet another one on your team, Connor Hellebuck.
You just went right to my team, eh? First.
No, all these guys are on your team.
No, you did not.
They're all on your team.
No.
Hellebuck, four goals, 6 goals, 1 goal, 4 goals, 3 goals. Not Hellebuck-like, not Vezina material. That's good enough for a 367 GAA, 891 save percentage. Not good.
Not great.
They got to tighten up. I sent you a meme, 2 on O's on Winnipeg, like it's nothing.
Yeah.
It happens every night. Maybe Mark Scheifele will bring some stability there when he's back.
I believe he will.
And finally, biggest blub of them all, Marc-Andre Fleury. 4 goals against, 4 goals against, 4 goals against, 6 goals against.
Ooh.
The reigning Vezina Trophy winner has a .575 GAA and an .839 save percentage.
Ouch.
Do you want to know when he was drafted in our draft?
Oh my God, I shudder to think. I'm gonna say 4th round.
5th round.
Ooh.
So very same territory as
Who drafted him? Do you know that?
Mitch.
Oh yes, Mitch.
That's a big flub.
I love that.
That is a flub.
Mitch.
He's not even playing any of the games. That Lankinen's getting all the games. He's been shit. That was in the same territory as Shea Theodore, UC Saros, Roman Yossi, Matt Barzell.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Terrible pick.
I got a couple for you.
That's it. I'm done with my suckers.
Alex Pietrangelo. Pointless.
Yeah.
Completely pointless.
What?
Literally pointless.
What a wow.
Not a single point.
Yeah, you're right. He hasn't done shit.
Nothing. Cole Caulfield, 1 assist in 8 games. 1 assist in Montreal's season so far.
Jeez.
Darcy Kemper.
And he's not even shooting.
No,
He's getting like 2 shots a game.
No.
He's playing 14 minutes a night.
Yeah.
He's what I thought Lucas Raymond was going to
Exactly.
be. And now Lucas Raymond's a star.
Prospects make no sense,
Yeah.
man. Like, I thought Caulfield would be like shooting at a 0.5 goals per game with like 4 shots a game, but he's not. Darcy Kemper was one of the early goalies off the board. .893 save percentage, .319 goals against. I do expect that to change big time. I'll go my player again here. Pedersen. Pedersen's gotten off to another slow start. Yep.
Yeah.
0.5 points per game, so not crazy, but he's been slow.
Yeah, lots
He's
of
been
guys
slow.
struggling on that Vancouver team. Brock Besser.
I'll mention Shea Theodore, ranked 356.
Yeah,
3 points on the year.
Hasn't been great.
And here's my this might actually surprise you, but here's my ace in the hole, Nick. You mentioned Laffy off the top. You want to guess how many points Timmy Stützle has on the year? Don't look it up, for Christ's sake. Guess.
2.
We saw half his points all year when we saw him play.
Yeah.
He's got 2 points all year. So don't go ringing the praises of this guy.
We liked him, though.
We liked him, sure, but he's got 2 points.
Right.
What's that about?
Interesting.
Ranked 350. He's played like 8 games, 8 games, 2 points. So
okay.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Right?
So jury's still out on him.
That's a lot worse than Laff, who's got double that, right?
Sure. Okay.
And he's not getting the same minutes, I'll tell you that. Well, he's getting decent minutes, but
my overperformers. I'll start from the top. Ranked 3rd in Yahoo.
your guy,
Kyle Connor. He's been fantastic. He's averaging basically he's averaging 4.5 shots a game. And the guy's putting up multi-point efforts seemingly every night. I don't know if this sustains itself when Wheeler and Scheifele come back, but 3 assists, 1 goal and 1 assist, 2 goals and 1 assist, 2 goals and 1 assist. Maybe it means less ice time. I don't know. Who's going to get hurt by them coming back, you know? It's got to be Dubois.
It's going to be Dubois.
Yeah.
Not Connor.
Not Connor. He's a staple. So I love this. Right behind him, 4th ranked, the best goalie in Yahoo Fantasy, if you don't count Ville Husso, Frederik Andersen.
Way to pump your own tires.
The bet
here.
has paid off so far. 133 GAA, 956 save percentage. You got a shutout last night. And everyone, all the naysayers were saying, oh, Michael, he was going, oh, it's going to be a timeshare. He's going to share time with Antti Ranta. Not so fast. First 6 games of the season he started, and he didn't even break a sweat doing it. So I was, for the longest time, I said, this guy's a great goalie. I said this when he was with the Leafs.
Free Freddie Andersen.
He's just missing. Free him. Send him to a team that plays defense. And this, as we saw in that Monday night game, this Carolina team can play. Hey?
Oh, yeah.
They were shot out of a can in that game.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not play for Rod Brind'Amour?
Yeah. Yeah.
The guy's just pumped up.
Well, Well, my biggest surprise, to be honest,
and you were low on them.
surprise-
You were really you said they're
I
not going to
was.
be very good.
Well, first of all, Kotkaniemi's been bad. Second of all, this Svechnikov has been amazing. Like
Should've taken him.
when Mitch reached for him in the first round, which I think was a reach at the time, I was wrong. He's fucking unbelievable.
They're good.
He's so unbelievable.
They're so good.
The guy has got like 1,000. Well, he gets tons of hits. He gets tons of shots. He's all over the scoreboard. He just got moved up to the top line. He did a lot of this not on the top line. This guy is just, he's keeper material almost in the first round. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's great. He's like a better Brady Tkachuk. He gives you the hits and the shots.
Yeah, but he scores.
And then he scores more. He's more reliable scorer.
He's not
he's on a
as
good
high
team.
volume.
Because he's on a good team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been really impressed with them. Another guy, who would have thought? Sam Bennett is still is drinking the Kool-Aid there in Florida.
I don't know how long that lasts.
He looks great in some highlight. He got a hat trick in his second game of the year. That was wild. He's putting up hits, shots. That's good enough for 12th in Yahoo.
Well, how about Timo Meier here? Like, he was drafted pretty late in our league, and Josh has just been enjoying like a myriad of hits, shots. This is a Josh guy.
Someone's got to produce on that team.
Tons of goals.
And he's been the one.
Tons of goals. So that looks good.
We saw him in person. Chris Kreider's been good. Hits, shots.
Yeah.
He looked great in person.
And
You know?
why don't you bring up Brandon Tanev, which I know you're gonna do, as just a fucking,
I was gonna mention him. Yeah,
he looks like a weapon out
6
there.
goals. He is the fan favorite of the Seattle Kraken.
Did you see the salmon toss?
You can immediately see he is the guy. He's the face of. If there's a face of the Seattle Kraken, it's Brandon Tanev.
So they had it. Did you see the challenge, the fan face challenge?
No.
They showed a Brandon Tanev's fucking face on the jumbotron.
And you have to replicate it.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's just, this guy is perfect for that franchise.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
no, he's been putting up the hits, the shots, and surprisingly scoring. I don't think it's sustainable. I think it shows itself. He has 0 assists. In eight games,
yeah.
he has 0 assists but 6 goals. So 6 goals and 0 assists.
Yeah.
That's the definition of a stat line that's not going to continue.
But the hits, though, you like those?
Of course.
8
Yeah,
hits.
I'm gonna keep him regardless for the hits.
He had like 8 hits in a game.
Yeah,
he's
like
a great.
The
great
bonus
guy
is
to have.
score. The scoring is just bonus at this point. I'm playing with house money. That's just bonus.
Yeah.
That Bertuzzi guy we talked about, Mr. Anti-Vax, he's been great for Detroit. He's shot up to 80% owned in Yahoo now. 27th overall. He's got 6 goals, just like Tanev. 6 goals, 3 assists. And then Dubois. I was gonna get into him again. We talked about him before the show. This stat line looks unsustainable to me because he's got
no shots and a bunch of goals.
Exactly. The shooting percentage is through the roof.
Yeah,
I know. There were 3 games. There were 4. He went back to back to back to back goals. 4 straight games with goals, and in 3 of those games, he only had 1 shot.
Really?
He's scoring on the 1 shot for 3 of those games. He scored on the 1 shot he had. That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And not to mention he's getting the top power play with Scheifele
For now.
right? For now, exactly. So that's one. That's why I didn't really rush to get him. We talked about Raymond earlier, and then last one from me, Drake Bathurst.
Oh.
Again, another one of those guys. He puts up the shots and the hits.
I'm disgusted.
And that's a Michael pick, so kudos to him.
No, it's not a Michael pick. I picked him up, and then I was forced my hand into dropping him. And as soon as I did, he had 4 points, 3 goals, and 1 assist. And it hurt so bad.
That's tough.
Because he's a great player. He's such a great player. I had him circled from day one. I just don't have the room. Larkin there, you mentioned the Detroit guys. Larkin's there at 35.
That's all I got.
He's got points in almost every... Like, that top line looks like lucrative money to us and whoever has Raymond there.
Yeah.
It's just... Things are going to equalize a little bit, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
There's some key performers there.
It's always fun to see who's doing great, and then even better who's doing like shit. So we're gonna end the show here. Our goal was to get around an hour and a half. We're just about that time, just over. I've already ordered the pizza. It's on its way shortly. And with that, we hope you enjoyed this third episode of season 4. We talked about a lot here, but as promised, we tried to do it quickly, concisely, and we hope you guys enjoyed. So we're going to hang up the mics for now. Look forward to another episode in 2 weeks' time. Who knows what will happen by then, you know? So many stories here with the Chicago stuff. You know, we couldn't have predicted it would take up today's show. So there's going to be some things coming in the future. Let's hope. And hopefully things just get more exciting from here. It's been a very exciting season to this point on the ice. So with that said, thank you for tuning in yet again. It's a pleasure to serve you guys as always. And until next time, Rink Moose is signing off.